I made $100,000 as a new business owner in just 1 year and I had zero experience. Now in this video, I'm going to quickly tell you about what I did that made me fail and what I did that made me succeed. And I'm going to start off by showing you proof and real data from when I was operating my business. Now in a nutshell, what I used to do to get this business to 100K was manufacture candles in bulk for companies all around the Gulf. Now let's see the stats. This is a Google sheet that I used to maintain before AI became a thing. Now here, if you take a look, you'll see that the sheet dates back to 2024 and it is basically a list of all my previous customers, including brands like Netflix, Eucerin, Porsche, and other media agencies that handle their own clients and outsource the candle making part to us. Obviously, I had to monitor our costs for the candles to be able to calculate our profits based on studied margins that made sense in the Gulf. So here you will see our total sales, which is roughly 1.3 million dirhams, and this is approximately $300,000 US. This is the revenue, and you probably don't care about that. So if we look here, we will see the profit after commission, and that commission went to the partners we worked with to get the orders in. So if we check everything, we're looking at 507,000 dirhams, which is equal to $138,000. And if we remove our yearly overhead and miscellaneous expenses, that's like 5,000 to 8,000 US, only as I used to operate from home and I didn't have a factory or any staff to pay for. Anyways, knowing that, we ended up with almost 130K US in the pocket. So this phase was from August 2024 up until June 2025. But I started my business in January 2024. So what happened during this phase? Now to know that, we have to zoom out a bit and talk about my background. Now, I am not a millionaire. I used to do a 9 to 5. I started my own business and I got it to 100K in 1 year. I'm not gonna tell you some course because I'm not a financial guru. I'm not gonna tell you buy this course to become a millionaire. I'm not gonna tell you to spend 3 days in a weekend and suddenly start making $2,000 to $3,000 a night. I'm gonna give you my honest and real experiences from what I did in my business in hopes to give you some inspiration. Now, back in 2021, I moved from Lebanon to Dubai to work for a media agency. I did that for 3 years right before starting my business, and I had zero experience. I didn't know how to stand in front of a camera. I didn't know how Instagram works, how TikTok works, how any of the social media platforms work. I didn't know what the hell was a KPI, what was a USP, how to make a candle. Everything was basically just a mess. When I first started my 9 to 5, I was making around $23,000 US for like a year. And then I managed to double that between 2021 and 2024. But then I noticed like I had a bottleneck, like I was not able to increase it in a way that I want to. So that's why I decided to start the business. So I went on from doing my 9 to 5 and then I started a 5 to 9, both in parallel. When I started my business, I started with 5 candles and a dream. I launched with 5 scents. I didn't do any research ahead of time, so I didn't know what scents was the market needing, like what was the demand in the market, but I just did it anyways. And I used to go back from my 9 to 5 back home without taking a shower, without doing anything. Immediately I would head out to shoot content. Then I would work on my website SEO. I would do editing for the videos. I would, doing basic marketing stuff. Then I would do some candles. And not only that, I used to, on weekends, I used to go to farmers markets, which used to run from 9 till 9. So that's 12 hours a day. I have to take all the items back and then put them, and then it was a mess. Anyways, so this was a cycle for a whole 8 months, 7 to 8 months, more or less. But then I noticed that all this was not worth it and I was not profitable at all. So I had to make a change. So I remember one time when I headed back home from my 9 to 5, I decided to do things a bit differently. I didn't shoot content. I didn't do any marketing. I did market research. And I found out that selling candles as retail, like individual pieces, is in a bit of a saturated market. So I was competing with big brands, I was competing with homemakers, DIY enthusiasts, and so on and so forth. So what I saw was missing was creating candles as a wholesale in bulk. So I changed the business model of the brand from B2C to B2B. And I tailored for media agencies and brands who want to create candles as favors or return gifts for openings, for events and whatever. So this was something that was not very saturated in the market at the time. There was only 3 or 4 big players in the market in comparison to what B2C had to offer, where I would know at least 100 or 120 different candle makers who were offering candles in the market, but they were not targeting the B2B side of things. So obviously I changed my branding, I changed my website, I changed the way I do marketing. Basically, instead of offering, like telling everyone that we offer individual candles, we started showing that we do more of wholesale and bulk and cheaper prices. Now, after we did the whole change, come December 2024, which was the end of the year, I remember we got one single order, one project that gave me double the amount of profit than I would do from my monthly paycheck in my 9 to 5. So this project took us 3 days to finish. And once we did, I got the money from the project, I took my resignation letter and I handed it over. I was like, thank you guys. But then, because in my head it didn't make sense. So one project was able to generate for me twice my salary. So I was like, all right, let me quit and let me focus more on the business. So if you were to start a business today, regardless of what are you gonna sell, whether you're gonna sell a digital product, a physical product, or you're going to offer a service, the strategy that I'm going to say right now could differ in your case, because let's say your service or product costs, for example, $20, right? You would need much more sales in 1 year in comparison if you were selling, let's say, a course for $1,000. So realistically, this is what you can expect. So what we're gonna do now is cover months 1 through 12. And in each step, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna be sharing with you my experience and what I should have done or would have done differently, or what you can implement in your case if you were just starting out, or if you feel like your business is not really growing as you're expecting it to. Starting from months 1 to 3, which is basically no sales / slow start. Now, in these 3 months, what you're gonna be doing, obviously after have completed your branding and done your market research, what you're going to be doing is laying down the foundation. And this means you are creating or fine-tuning your website, you're working on your workflows, you're introducing your marketing platforms like your Instagram, your TikTok and whatnot, and you're testing ideas. You're going to be testing a lot to see what works, what doesn't, because you're going to be new in this business. Now, also in these 3 months, it's going to be a very confusing and doubtful month. You're going to be questioning yourself about what the hell you're doing, and this is completely fine. But in the first 3 months, it's very important to understand that you're just laying the foundation and you should not pull the plug even if you don't make any sales. Things will take time and it will be one baby step at a time. It is very important at this stage to understand how marketing works. So in the first 3 months, this is where you should be giving yourself time to understand how to stand in front of a camera. If you were going to show yourself for your brand, you're going to be the face of the brand. How to improve your marketing, whether it was content on the website or content on social media, Instagram, TikTok, whatever it was. You should understand what your KPIs are, what's your unique selling point. You should know what a sales funnel is and how to actually narrow down your followers into customers. And I will definitely be posting more about all these, if you want, topics later down the line as my channel grows. Okay. Months 4 to 6 is first signs of life. So in these 2 months, what you should be doing is, let's say, for example, you started getting some sales. You got 1 or 2 sales in the first 3 months, regardless how it came, whether it was from friends or family, or it came organically, or you ran some ads through Meta. It is very important to understand where these sales came from, what drove those sales. And of course, that's only if you have multiple sales channels. So if you have your website, if you're running any offline marketing through word of mouth, if you're running anything in your local community, or if you have your social media platforms, both TikTok and Instagram, Snapchat, you're running through Facebook, whatever it was, you have to understand exactly where this sale came from which channel. Because by understanding that, we will be able to double down on whatever we're doing that caused the sale to happen. And if a sale happened from this particular reason, whether, let's say, for example, you posted an ad campaign on Meta, which means you did it on Instagram and Facebook, and you ran specific headlines or descriptions and did a specific graphic that was actually interesting for people to watch, and then it made a conversion, then we should understand that, all right, this is what worked and we should double down on that. So months 4 to 6 is trying as much as possible to leverage all the marketing and all the things that we've been practicing in months 1 to 3 to get a sale, and then trying to figure out how we actually got that sale so we can start doubling down on it later down the line. And by doing that, obviously you will be able to start gearing up to scaling, because now you know what works and what doesn't. Months 7 to 9 is gaining momentum. At this point, things start to get real. You have figured out 1 or 2 things that actually work. So your mental process starts shifting from trying everything into doubling down on things that actually worked and that we figured out in the last step. So this could mean focusing on more specific type of content that's performing well. And if you're running any paid campaigns, you have to increase your spending on those campaigns. Obviously, only if they're converting. You have to keep improving your product based on whatever customer feedback you're getting. It is very, very important to constantly ask for feedback from your customers. Is my service good? Is my product good? Was the digital product, the ebook that you bought, was it any valuable? Did it bring any value to you? These are very good things to ask your customers, because it will help you improve later down the line. And one more thing, as I already stated, you have to constantly be refining your product or offer as you go. One thing to keep note is that in these months, you're still not really out of the trenches. You will still be making mistakes. You will be making more tests and you will be improving things. Some things might work, some things might not. But the only difference is, at this point, probably you should be in a point where you are making calculated tests and decisions, and they're not really random anymore. You have to maintain a humble and focused mentality though, because like I said, you will still have days with no sales. You will have paid campaigns that suddenly stop working, and like initially they were giving you a lot of good results and then they stop working. And God knows how many times I've been through this. And sometimes you will feel like you're moving backwards. But that's completely normal, because at this point you start to understand your business, not fully, but enough to predict what will work and what won't. You will be faster in fixing problems, and you will also be making decisions with more confidence. And it is at this point where you should start seeing small wins like return customers, more orders coming in, better engagement on your content. And these small wins are what builds the momentum. One important thing that I want to tell you here is, try, if something is working for you, try not to deviate away or try not to follow trends. Maintain the same thing, just try to improve on what's working. There's a very common saying in the coding world where it goes like, if it's not broken, don't touch it. And literally, if it's not broken, don't touch it. So yeah, this is where most small businesses start failing, because as soon as they see a light, a small light, a shed of light, that all right, whatever they're doing is working, they start exploring new things, and this is what stops them from actually succeeding. Let me give you an example. There's a restaurant here in Lebanon that offers 3 dishes, and they've been doing the same thing for the past 8 years. So they have their signature sauce and they serve it with chicken, meat, or fish, and that's it. They've never done anything else. They only introduced a new idea for vegans. They didn't touch their existing successful product. They just added one more to cater to an audience which can't really use their other products. So this is what you want to focus on initially. If your product is successful, don't start exploring a lot, just improve on it. Months 10 to 12 is controlled growth. So at this stage, you already know what kind of content you should be posting to get traffic. You know which channels convert into sales and what your audience actually responds to. So instead of doing new things, you are constantly repeating what actually works and improving small details and optimizing your process. By now, you'll notice, hopefully, that your sales starting in more consistently, you'll get more orders. Word of mouth starts to kick in from when you were doing that in the initial stages of your business. And your mentality will shift from, will this work, to how can I make this work, or how can I make this work better? Because you already have the formula. You already know what worked, and you have all this data that you were able to gather from the first, let's say, 9 months of playing around and testing and like checking what works and what doesn't. And then you just have to take this data and try to basically create something new with it, or improve what you already have and ship it to the customer. That's it. So what you're actually doing here is you're going to be scaling what's working, as we have said. But you're going to be doing it by putting in more content, more ads, and better offers, which you know will work. You're improving your systems with obviously faster workflows and better customer experiences. Whether it was a new feature on your website, you introduced a new video in your course, you added a new chapter in your digital product, and obviously, most importantly, you are managing your time better. And by now you start finally to get some breathing room, and that's not because the business became easier, but because you're no longer fighting chaos every day and stressing on whether will this work or will it not. And it was at this stage that I noticed that making money is one thing, but maintaining your life while doing so is something else. So I already told you that from January till August 2024, the business was barely making any money, and I was still doing my 9 to 5. It was actually taking more money from my pocket than putting any in it. And I was in fact doing everything wrong in the first 6 months. My journey was a bit different from the months that we talked about previously. I didn't do, again, enough market research. So then when I pivoted to private label, I caught that demand, which was very less in the market, and I was able to rescue the business from the pits. The way I started is in August 2024. We got our first wholesale order from word of mouth, and from there, another yoga brand, a person who owned a yoga brand was attending that specific event, and they saw the candles, and then they asked to do the same, but for the yoga brand. And we make sure to document everything we're doing on social media. So then a coffee shop saw what we're doing, and then they asked for the same product, but with their branding. And it is here where we noticed that a snowball effect started to happen. Because of that snowball effect and like revenue coming in now, we started to leverage paid ad campaigns during seasons that had high demand, like Christmas or Halloween, because these seasons are like cash cows in the candle industry. And as a business owner, it is very important for you to understand when your product has high demand and when it does not. And that's another mistake which I did, was launching the brand initially during the end of the high season. Anyways, because of this snowball effect and because we were doubling down on what was working, the orders kept coming. Anyways, because of us doubling down on what was working, we leveraged more and more videos or marketing content on social media that actually drove customers in, and we tried working with paid campaigns. More and more orders kept coming in consistently, and I made sure to understand what I was doing right and what I was doing wrong along the process. At this time, I was able to pick up my unique selling point. I didn't know what our unique selling point was up until I got that aha moment. It was that we offered a whole lot of customization, and we had very fast and reliable customer service, and we were extremely fast in delivering the product. I mean, we were fast. Oh, and we offered free samples. Obviously, in this line of business, people wanted to see free samples before they actually committed to bigger quantities. That's probably one thing I should have nailed down and figured out before the business even started. But that's the thing about businesses, is that it's very important to adapt and to constantly change what doesn't work as you grow. Anyways, in December, we got our first glory moment, so to speak. It was an order that drove us $5,000 in pure profit. And this was a project that we completed in a couple of days. So it was after this that I decided to quit my job and focus full-time on the business. By doing that, I was able to put in more time on the business, and I managed to get myself on the second position of Google search. We had more visibility on ChatGPT and AI engines. We were able to get more viral content on social media. And all this compounding is what got us the 118 orders in 6 months. And each order averaged around $1,500 in profit. Now, what I was supposed to do in 12 months, I did in 6. But this doesn't mean it was a good thing, because at the first year mark, burnout started to creep in, and I felt a bit too early. But this was because I was posting videos on social media daily. I was constantly uploading content on the website. I was working till 2 a.m. every day, and I was basically not giving time for myself. And this actually took a heavy toll on me, which is why I'm saying to follow this 12 months plan, but do it at your own pace with proper time management. So if you wanted to start a brand, regardless of what you had to offer, there are some things that matter and some things that don't. Obviously, what comes on the first of the list is market research and competitor research. You have to do those two things before you dive into the deep and before you're too far gone into the business. Once this is out of the way, you need to focus on things that actually move the needle. And these are solutions to different problems, your product, your offer, and most importantly, consistent marketing. Because if there's no eyes to see your product, even though you have the best product ever, no one's gonna buy it. You should try not to overthink things, try not to do everything perfectly, and obviously try not to follow every idea and every new trend. And most importantly, try not to focus on things that don't directly bring customers. So yes, I did hit 100K in profit in my first year in business, but I wasn't really proud of the way I did it, now that I think about it, because if you're making money but you're constantly stressed, overworked, and you can't hit pause for a bit, then you just found yourself another job and not a business for yourself. For me now, my goal changed, and it is to build a business that actually supports my life and my family and not take over it. And this is especially why I came from Dubai back to Lebanon, from this hustle culture to a place where I can actually go out, enjoy different scenery, live life a bit slow, and at the same time generate all the revenue that I can be doing. Whether it was through my candle business, through YouTube, through different side hustles I'm doing here and there. Every business that I have doesn't take a lot of time from me, but compounding is what matters in this journey, and that's what this journey is all about. It's about learning how to time manage and understand that you can actually make money while living your life. You don't have to constantly pound yourself and work 20 hours a day just to get the ball rolling. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe, because I'll be posting work-life balance videos every once in a week. Thank you so much for watching for now, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.